The Bluestreak ended the 2022 season very disappointingly, only winning 4 total games that season and finished last in the league. The expectations then for the 2023 season were not that high, as we knew we were good, but we didn't think we were legit.
I think going into every season, we compete to win. Every season I want to win the league, and my expectation is that we'll work hard and we'll achieve that every single year.
Yeah, I'd say we definitely had high expectations, but at the same time, we came off that season that wasn't very good, so we didn't really know, but we all tried our best and wanted to make it a great season.
I think coming into it, because we came off the back of a really painful season where we only got like a handful of wins, we needed something that would give us a massive confidence boost. And I think that came in the second half of the Wauseon game.
It all started in that summer when the Streaks thought they could be legit. And let me tell you, they were. A senior dominant team through the field, sprinkled in with some underclassmen. As the season approached, this was the deepest team Archbold had had in a while. There were 13 to 15 dudes that could absolutely ball. The season opened with a big win at home on a very hot day against Swanton, and that was the moment they realized that they had a very good chance to be something. After Swanton was a Saturday morning game against Pettisville, and we showed out for that one too. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Let's go straight into the third game. Rivalry game against Wauseon on their own turf. A huge come-from-behind win in just the final minutes. After that game, we felt connected and like a family, and that's when we realized we were legit.
I think we'd won a few games before then, but Wauseon was the first real big test, and we were down at half-time by 2 goals, I believe. I think we were 3-1 down at half-time, 2-1 or 3-1, but we were definitely behind, and we needed a boost, and I really saw the team come together at that moment and decide to go for it, and I think that was the turning point.
Yeah, I'd definitely say the Wauseon game was huge for us. It kind of like showed us what we could be in the season and showed that we had no quit. You know, coming back from 2-3-1 deficit, it's kind of a lot of teams just put their head down, but we didn't. We just fought back.
After that, we had a couple of big wins, but the long-awaited Delta game was ahead of us. By all means, they were the league favorites. They played fast-paced and physical soccer. It was nothing like we've ever played against before, and it shocked us. They ended up beating us 2-1, and it was devastating for the Streaks, as we thought it was the end of our league championship thoughts.
Go.
I would say so. Like, as we could tell from the games before that, you could easily tell by looking at us that we had no quit in us. There was no shot we were gonna, like, at that loss to Delta, we took those losses and we built for them. We didn't put our head down. We didn't give up to the last minute. We played the whole game as we could, and we came back stronger from that loss.
Yeah, I agree totally. And if you look at the Delta game, the last 20 minutes were an absolute onslaught by Archbold. Remember, Delta were the preseason favourites for the league, a phenomenal team with incredible athletes and numerous club players. And they were very, very difficult to play against. But the last 20 minutes of that game when we were 1-0 down was an absolute onslaught. And it was a credit, really, to Delta that they withstood it, because nobody else did that season. At the end of the Delta game, did I think the league had gone? Yeah, maybe. But I knew we'd never quit. I knew Delta would have to win out to beat us. And they didn't.
After the Delta loss, we had a huge bounce-back win against a very put-together Liberty Center team. After that, we played league contenders Evergreen. Their best player, Tyson Woodring, was getting man-marked by Brody all game long, and he did an excellent job. But the Streaks faced some adversity as we just scored as we went down early by a couple goals. As we battled back to bring it within one, they just scored, extending the lead. Creighton Kern played the game of his life to single-handedly put the Bluestreaks back within the game. He contributed to 4 of the 5 goals scored and led the Streaks to the biggest come-from-behind win they had all season.
Well, as a coach, it's a difficult situation to be in when you're 4-1 down, because if you look at the times in your whole soccer career that you've been down by 3 goals and actually come back to win the game, I bet you can count them on the fingers of one hand. It's really rare to come back from that amount. Plus, Evergreen were really good as well. They had Tyson Woodring, the player of the year, playing for them, an absolute handful. But fortunately, we had a Brody. I knew we'd never quit. But sometimes in soccer, you kind of know when the game is gone. I think if they had scored another one, we'd have been done. They'd have broken us.
Yeah, that was a pretty big deficit. You know, we did it before in Wasion, but nothing quite to the extent of 4-1. So it was kind of tough, but everything just played. We just played our game, hustled back slowly, got it back, and then ended up winning that game. So it was definitely a battle for sure.
You know, my favorite memories of that game are into the second half. We got a goal and we got a foothold in the game. Still a long way behind. And then Creighton had maybe his best 20 minutes of high school soccer. He scored a hat-trick in the 20 minutes to bring us back from 4-2 to 5-4 up with just minutes to go. I think we scored the winner maybe with a couple of minutes to go. And then with 6 seconds to go, the Evergreen centre-back hit the crossbar from the halfway line. And if that goal had dropped in, it was inches from going in. If that had dropped in, we wouldn't have won the league. So it was kind of like it's almost like a film script the whole season. When you look back on it, so many incredible moments had to go together, all right for us to win that league. If you tell someone the story about it, it almost seems unbelievable. But it was, what a fantastic time.
The Streaks were flying high, going into the next week of hard games consisting of Continental and Ottawa Hills, which we ended up losing both, but they were very good games. Now this is the moment we've all been waiting for. Archbold versus Bryan. But before that, let's mention that Delta and Evergreen played against each other at 5, and our game was at 7. And if either of them won the game, they would have been league champs outright. The Streaks needed a tie out of them to be outright league champs, and they got just that. The pregame huddle at Bryan was amazing. There was so much energy. It was what we worked so hard for, and the atmosphere was amazing at that night game on Bryan's field. The Streaks came out hot and ended up dominating the game. They won 4-0.
I remember that game. I've coached a lot of games in my life, and I remember getting the news from my wife, our unofficial scout at the Evergreen game, that we had, with a win, that we would be league champions. Maybe 5 minutes before the game started at Bryan, something like that. And I remember thinking to myself, as a coach, I don't know how to handle this. I don't know what to say to the boys. I don't know. I've never experienced this before. So I remember gathering you together, and we were just screaming and jumping up and down, and the energy was phenomenal that, you know, when I delivered the news. And I looked over at the Bryan players who were all staring at us, and I knew we'd won already. The look of resignation on their faces, and that we would come out of the traps so fast. My only fear was that, I guess, Bryan were going to stick all their players behind the ball and just try and hold on for a 0-0 tie and make the game boring. But they never did that. Credit to their coach and credit to their players. They came out, they played us properly, and we got early goals, which was fantastic.
Yeah, I'll never forget when we were in that pregame huddle and Stewart said, "Boys, we're playing for the league title." I still get goosebumps just thinking about it because that was the most it was the most perfect situation we could be in right there. And then right when Stewart said that, there was no shot we were losing that Bryan game. Sorry to Bryan, but the skill and just the determination we had on our team, there was no way we were letting that go out of our hands. That was the most perfect ending to the league season ever.
Yeah, it was awesome. Just and getting presented with the league trophy after the game by the league on the Bryan field, which is a beautiful field, incidentally, and under the head floodlights. It was just perfect. I think it was raining lightly, but I didn't even notice. I didn't even care, and it was just a magical moment, like a culmination of years of work that these boys have put in. And I'll echo what Gabe says. I still get goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah, it perfectly played out from, especially who would think the season we had before with almost the same exact team, with players stepping up, just that we would be on the opposite side of what we were the season right before.
We celebrated on that field for almost an hour just taking pictures and such, and after that we went to our teammate Ethan Stuckey's house to celebrate the big win.